Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the English Learning Podcast, where we help you build your confidence and fluency in English one step at a time. I'm Jason, your host for today's episode, and as always, I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Julia.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here again. We know that learning English can be a challenging journey, but we're here to make it easier, more fun, and less stressful for you.
That's right, Julia. And today, we're diving into a topic that I'm sure many of our listeners can relate to: how to overcome the fear of speaking English. So, if you've ever felt nervous, embarrassed, or even avoided speaking English altogether, this episode is for you.
Exactly. We'll talk about why this fear happens and, more importantly, share practical tips to help you feel more confident when speaking English. By the end of this episode, you'll have the tools you need to face your fear head-on and start speaking with courage.
Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share this podcast with anyone who might find it helpful. Now, let's get started. So, let's start by understanding this fear. Julia, why do you think so many people feel scared to speak English?
That's a great question, Jason. One of the biggest reasons is the fear of making mistakes. Many learners worry that if they say something wrong, people will laugh at them or judge them.
Yes, and I've heard this from a lot of learners, too. They want to be perfect when they speak, but that pressure to be perfect actually makes them more nervous.
Exactly. And another reason is the fear of being misunderstood. Sometimes learners feel that their pronunciation or accent might confuse others, and that makes them hesitate to speak.
Right. There's also the fear of being compared to others, especially if you're learning in a group setting. People often think, what if I don't sound as good as the others? That comparison can really hold them back.
And let's not forget about past experiences. If someone has been corrected harshly or embarrassed while speaking English before, it can make them afraid to try again.
That's so true. These fears are very real, but here's the thing. We all make mistakes when we're learning something new, and that's completely okay.
Yes, fear is natural, but it doesn't have to stop you. The key is to understand that these fears are just part of the process. And the good news is, there are ways to overcome them, which we'll talk about shortly.
Exactly. So, if you're feeling this fear, know that you're not alone. Many English learners experience the same thing, and today, we're going to help you move past it. Now that we understand why the fear of speaking English happens, let's talk about some practical strategies to overcome it. Julia, do you want to start with the first tip?
Of course. Tip number 1. Focus on communication, not perfection. Many learners think they have to speak perfectly, but that's not true. The goal of language is to communicate. Even if you make mistakes, people will usually understand you, and that's what really matters.
That's so important. I always tell learners, mistakes are proof that you're learning. In fact, making mistakes is one of the best ways to improve because you can learn from them.
Exactly. And that leads to tip number 2. Start small and practice daily conversations. You don't need to have long, complex conversations right away. Begin with simple things, like greeting someone in English or ordering food at a restaurant. Small wins build confidence.
That's a great point. Here's tip number 3. Use English in low-stress environments. For example, talk to yourself in English at home. Describe what you're doing, or practice speaking in front of a mirror. You can also use language learning apps to practice without feeling judged.
I love that. And here's tip number 4. Surround yourself with English as much as possible. Listen to podcasts, watch movies or shows, and try to think in English. The more you immerse yourself, the more natural it will feel to speak.
Absolutely. Another powerful strategy is tip number 5. Practice positive self-talk. Often, the fear of speaking English comes from negative thoughts like, I'm not good enough, or I'll embarrass myself. Replace those thoughts with positive ones like, I'm learning and improving every day. Confidence starts in the mind.
That's so true. And tip number 6, find a supportive environment to practice. It could be a language partner, an online community, or even a group class. Practicing with people who encourage you can make a huge difference.
Great advice, Julia. And one last tip. Celebrate your progress. No matter how small the achievement, acknowledge it. Every step forward is a step closer to fluency, and that's worth celebrating.
Yes, overcoming fear doesn't happen overnight, but with these strategies, you can take control and start feeling more confident one step at a time.
Exactly. Fear is just a barrier, but it's not permanent. With practice, patience, and the right mindset, anyone can overcome it. So, which of these tips are you excited to try first? Now, let's address some common questions or concerns that many English learners have about speaking confidently. Julia, here's a question I hear all the time. What if I make a mistake in public and people laugh at me? What would you say to that?
That's such a common worry, Jason. My advice would be this: most people aren't paying as much attention as you think. If someone laughs, it's probably because they think the situation is funny, not because they're judging you, and honestly, making mistakes shows that you're brave enough to try.
That's a great point. I always tell learners to think of mistakes as opportunities. If someone corrects you, take it as a learning moment rather than a failure. It's all part of the process.
Exactly. Here's another question I've heard. How can I practice speaking English if I don't have anyone to talk to? What do you think, Jason?
Good question. If you don't have a partner, you can try talking to yourself in English. Describe your day, your plans, or even your thoughts. You can also record yourself speaking and listen back to improve. And don't forget about technology. Apps like language exchanges or even AI chatbots can be great practice tools.
Yes, and adding to that, listening to podcasts like this one and repeating phrases out loud can also help you practice. You don't always need a partner to build your skills.
Here's another common concern. What if I can't find the right words while speaking and I get stuck? Julia, how would you handle that?
That's a great question. First, it's okay to pause and take a moment to think. If you can't find the exact word, try using simpler words to explain what you mean. For example, instead of delicious, you could say very tasty. The goal is to keep the conversation going.
Exactly. Pausing is natural. It happens even to native speakers. And here's a pro tip. If you're stuck, you can use phrases like, how do you say this? Or, let me rephrase that. It shows you're trying, and most people will appreciate your effort.
Absolutely. And remember, everyone has felt nervous or stuck at some point. The key is not to let those moments stop you from trying.
Great advice, Julia. If you're listening and have a question or concern we didn't cover, feel free to share it in the comments or send us a message. We'd love to help. All right, let's wrap things up with some actionable takeaways. Julia, let's give our listeners 3 simple steps they can start using today to overcome their fear of speaking English.
Absolutely. Step 1. Start small and practice daily. It could be as simple as saying a few sentences to yourself in English or using basic phrases in everyday situations. Remember, small consistent steps lead to big progress.
Great tip. Step 2. Focus on communication, not perfection. Your goal is to be understood, not to be perfect. Embrace mistakes as part of the learning journey and keep moving forward.
Exactly. And step 3, find ways to immerse yourself in English. Listen to podcasts, watch videos, or join online communities where you can practice in a supportive environment. The more you expose yourself to English, the more confident you'll feel.
Those are fantastic steps, Julia. And remember, overcoming fear is a process. It takes time and effort, but it's definitely possible. The most important thing is to take action and keep practicing.
That's right. You've got this. Start small, be kind to yourself, and celebrate every bit of progress you make.
Well said, Julia. And that's it for today's episode. We hope these tips inspire you to take the next step in your English-speaking journey. That brings us to the end of today's episode. We hope you found these tips and strategies helpful in overcoming your fear of speaking English. Remember, confidence comes with practice and persistence, so don't give up.
Exactly, and if you have any questions, experiences, or tips of your own, we'd love to hear from you. Share them in the comments or reach out to us on social media. We're here to support you on your journey.
Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and share this episode with anyone who might benefit from it. Your support helps us create more content like this to help English learners around the world.
And if you enjoyed this episode, leave us a review or a thumbs up. It really motivates us to keep going and sharing more with you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Keep practicing, stay confident, and remember, you're doing an amazing job.
We'll see you in the next episode. Until then, take care and happy learning.